Hello and welcome to Swedish Linux. Linux, the right way. Well, like I promised, I'm going to make a short video about the story how I began with Linux once in a time, far, a long time ago. It's back to 1998. We are talking almost more than 30 years ago. I mean, that's a long time. I mean, we're talking nearly 25 years ago when I started Linux, and Linux was just beginning to bloom like mushroom. And it began, I was by then hardcore Windows user, Windows 98, SE, second edition, and soon will come Windows Millennium and Windows 2000 and so on and so forth. But my friend asked me, because he had a white Dell. And by the way, let's look at it actually. Here we go. Here we go. This is kind of Dell he had. Like this one. Yes. This is what he had. Oh, that's way too far. Yeah, this is the Dell he had. And, oh, many Dells here. Oh, here it is. And this is the Dell he had, similar to, exactly like this, but they only have one drive. And he asked me if I could install Linux, because he had too many problems with Windows 98. And I said to him, well, of course I can do that. That's not a problem, exactly like this he had. And I told him that Linux is completely something else. It's not so easy as Windows was back then. But he said he wanted anyway. So let's go over. 1998, it was primarily SUSE and Red Hat. There were others like Debian existed, Slackwave existed back then, Red Hat, Mandrake, but that's pretty much what it was. It didn't exist so much back then as it does today, 25 years later. I think I even have the CD somewhere backed up, because I knew it could be something interesting. So I installed it to him. And this is how I become in contact, because to be able to install it to him, I need to learn it myself. So I had a second hard drive, and I installed it. And this is how I started. I started actually with SUSE. I did first install Red Hat, but I thought Red Hat was too clunky and too slow. So a friend to me recommended SUSE. So I installed SUSE, and that is exactly what I installed for my friend as well. And for many years he was happy. He updated, upgraded it, and it's continued. What I know, he never went back to Windows, of what I know. I lost contact with him a couple of years later, but until the time I lost contact with him, several years later, he still used Linux. So I think he still uses it. But this is how it started for me back in 1998. And during the time, I followed Linux. It's not like I completely fell off the radar, because in 2001 I started to study at university. At the university it was pretty much Windows PC or Mac. And of course I went to the Mac. And from 2000 basically, 2001 actually, I was on the PC, Mac, up to 2012, where I finished all my studying, 11 years. And after 2 master's degree and 1 doctor degree, that I unfortunately didn't finish because they closed down the faculty, but I did have a year on that. But as far, I did a lot of studying, and I become quite popular with the professors in the faculty and the faculties around, because they've seen how robust my PCs were compared to the one they bought from HP and Dell and so on, the black ones, or the model that Dell used by then. But I always built my own computers. And they saw that the hardware, yes, they were a little bit more expensive than the pre-builds, but it was no more than 10-15% more. But the quality and the lifespan of those computers I built surpassed long the pre-builds. And I become quite famous in the area of professors, because every professor want to buy a computer from me. Some bought it with Windows, most actually bought with Windows, but a couple bought it with Linux. And that's a little bit how I continue the knowledge of Linux. I didn't have it in a deep, I have it in a virtual machine. It was very hard and clunky, and later on I had a separate drive, because I had a slot drive that you could pull up the disk and put another one in. And I had Linux on that one drive, and another one I have Windows. But that wasn't my main computer. My main computer was Mac. And I had everything from iMac, MacBook, and Mac Pro, or even Power Mac G4 as well. I still have it actually, silver front. And I used that during that time. So Linux was not forgotten, but not the primary operating system. It was more like a hobby thing. But somewhere down the line, around 2017, 2019, actually 2017 and 2018, I was starting to get fed up with Windows and Windows telemetry. And it was a little bit then I really started looking on alternative. And here you can see that there is not terminal, it was telemetry we're going to look for. And how you can see there's quite a lot, even Microsoft themselves talks about it, because people really getting fed up with Windows collecting. Not only did they take everything about you, they sell it, they earn big bucks of you, and you get nothing. And this is one reason why I'm fed up with Microsoft. And you see here, telemetry was the main reason why I said thank you and goodbye. And in 2018, I started with Fedora Linux. I think it was Fedora 31 or something like that. Let's see what it was. I think it was Fedora 31, 30 or 31. let's see what we have. Yeah, 2930, yeah. It was later, 2019, that I primary jump, yeah. Because I just started with 29 and just a couple of months later, at the beginning of the year, it came 30, and then at 31, I switched. And I went for a long time with Fedora, I think up over a year, Fedora 33 or 33, but suddenly didn't work well. It was a huge problem. And I switched over to Manjaro and ran that for 1 or 2 years. And then I switched over to Arch Linux. And it was the most fun Linux distribution I ever had or tested, but it was the one that mostly managed to nuke. And then somewhere about 2021 and 22, I went back to SUSE, the Linux distribution I started my trip with back in 98, 99. I went back to it, but it wasn't stable. For some reason, I had a huge problem, and it's the same computer I have today. And for some reason, it didn't want to work with dual monitors. It was trouble. So I went over to Ubuntu. And on Ubuntu, I actually chose first Kubuntu, but later I set on Ubuntu Mate, because I could get it more like a Mac. But somewhere in end of 2022, I switched back to SUSE again. And on Tumbleweed. And up to today, I'm on Linux, OpenSUSE, Tumbleweed. And I'm really happy with it. That's very briefly my time as how I went to Linux. I can add that as well. The reason why I didn't switch to Linux earlier was that it lacked software. Unfortunately, it lacked software. GIMP wasn't good enough. Darktable wasn't sophisticated enough. By then I used Photoshop and Lightroom when it wasn't on monthly fee. You bought it and you had it. And of course I did game a little bit back then during university time. So Linux wasn't really an option then. But thanks to the nerdiness, the geekiness in me, I always kept an eye on Linux development, and I follow different forums like OpenSUSE, Fedora forum, Ubuntu forums, and I follow it closely to see when it was possible to jump over. And finally in 2019 I could, but really 100%, because I did have dual boot from 2019 up to 2022, summer 22. Then I removed the dual boot and only have OpenSUSE as a primary system, and I have a virtual machine with Windows because I do need to access one printer, the Canon LBP 6200, to print. And unfortunately, it does not work on OpenSUSE, even if you have driver for it. And the only driver that works on Ubuntu, but I can't stand Ubuntu and Canonical because they don't have the rolling release system, in which way I like it. But only two systems that has it the way I like it, it's Fedora and OpenSUSE. But SUSE has one thing more. They have the Jetzt system, which is why I love SUSE so much, because I don't need to do everything in command line. I can do it in graphical interface as well. But this is primary number one reason why it's not that I really have anything to hide. It's not about it. It's about principles here for me. Microsoft collects tons of data on everything you do on a computer. Watch my earlier video I made a couple of days ago. And it's not fair that they give you 3 hours, but they earn 10 times more than you ever get, and they earn a huge buck of your information, and I don't like that. Many people say, but yes, you're using a smartphone, Android, and iPhone, and you've been tracked anyway. Yes, the difference is here, and listen carefully. There's two major differences. Your phone has a lot more security in it built in. You have Touch ID or Face ID or whatever, it depends on what you have, a phone. And you have encryption and so on, most of them. And you're more careful with your phone. You don't want to lose it because you know you have a lot of things on it. And phones don't get hacked that easy as computer does. That's the second reason. Your computer at home, if it's not a laptop, assume you have a desktop, you don't lose it, and you have less security on it, which is less easier for different software and spyware and everything else to get inside if you have Windows. And they can take all the information, steal your identity, take credit loans, buy stuff and all, and you get a shitload of trouble for that because you are not as careful on your computer as you are on your phone. This is why I don't like Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook to collect telemetry, and I try to eliminate as much as possible. So this is why my reason, for the love of God, get over to Linux if you can. I understand if you have other software that you can't, fine, but try to use it. So this is my story. If you like the channel, please give a thumb up, subscribe, and push the bell notification. And we see you in the next video. Bye.